Hello, this is my first podcast in a while, and I am not even using my headphones or microphones, which my training coach for podcasting told me I should. So I'm going a little rogue, but we'll see how it sounds, and I'm just getting back in the swing of things. So I think the last time I recorded a podcast was in October. I have, let's see, what's been going on since then? I'm now 9 months into my new job with Aether, and I've recently taken up more responsibilities with my previous employer before I got into Web3, Insight Finder, now renamed Insight Finder AI. So I really love leading marketing and coming up with positioning, and the AI and Web3 spaces are very dynamic. So I'm excited to work with people in both places and help their businesses grow. For Aether, in the 8 months since they've had their product, which is GPUs as a service, we've grown to $100 million ARR. And Insight Finder AI is building new products, initially started as observability and incident resolution for IT, and has now moved into observability and quality monitoring for AI solutions, which obviously now all companies are moving into AI and understanding how AI can help optimize their businesses. So very exciting space to be in. That's the business side of things. Spirituality side of things, I am still meditating every day, usually do that before the kids wake up in the morning. I spend about 20 minutes doing that. And of course, that's after I do my cardio workout in the morning, which I've been doing since I was a teenager. And that's still a very important space and place for me. And as I get more into my spirituality and understand how mind and body are engaged, I understand more why it feels so important to me. And I have more of an explanation, holistic explanation as to why exercise is so important to me and how that really makes a difference in the beginning of my day. I mean, before, I would say I isolated the way I thought about mind and body, in that I worked out in the morning, and that was my, initial sort of, felt like it was for my mind, but really like that was the time for my body, and that I could work out and kind of zone out. And then I would notice the positive effect that would have on my mood and demeanor. But I now that I've gotten more into breath work and yoga and different aspects of spirituality, I understand how all those things work together, and I'm more aware of it, and acknowledge it and thankful for it, and also make changes in adaptability, for it. I would say right now I do about a 40-minute cardio workout, and then, about 20 minutes of yoga, whereas before I would have probably done an hour plus of cardio and then just called it a day, no stretching or anything like that. So me from 10 or 15 years ago would be like, what? You spend 20 minutes on breathing instead of getting 20 minutes extra of running miles or going on the elliptical or something like that. But people change, and it shows that the mind is adaptable and the body is adaptable. And I think that's a good lesson for me in the future, and also for anyone who has regimented routines or feels very stuck in their ways, because things do change, and it probably takes inspiration and for me, slow evolution over time, because I still probably would err towards being not stuck in my ways, but like really enjoying my ways and my routine. But it does change over time. So that's good. It's good to have that, and it's good to be adaptable. Of course, the other side of my routine that's completely changed over the past 5 years is having kids, and now they are an integral part of my workout, or integral part of my routine, and will thwart my routine and override my routine if anything happens in the morning, or when they wake up and things like that. So that's a little update on my life. Let's see, we are approaching Easter weekend. Kids have had an Easter egg hunt today, and I actually went to Duke Chapel because I won't be able to go there on Easter Sunday. It's a lovely service that they have in the chapel. It's a welcoming of all faiths overall, but, they do have a Methodist centered ideology. So that is, the predominant sort of main theme in service, especially as these major holidays approach. So I won't be able to be there on Sunday, but I did go today, and I spent some. It's making me a little teary thinking about it. I spent some time just in the front few pews and really quieted my mind and just reflected upon all the great, people who have, worshiped there and who are dedicated to thinking about a higher power and, connecting to the greater good in their own way. I also lit candles, one for my professor, one of my favorite professors at Duke, Dean Wilson, who passed away suddenly, but I think he was in his 80s, but it was still sudden. He passed away in the fall, and he was one of my favorite professors. I had him for 2 seminars, and he was really special to me because he was, very smart, learned in history and religion, but very inviting for different viewpoints and personalities to come forward, make a statement, elaborate on their thoughts. Sometimes when college kids are in class, they will say something and they'll be like, I've said my statement and I'm done. And I remember Gene Wilson always being like, come on, say more about that. And so, and he would get excited and animated. So he was amazing. I enjoyed lighting a candle for him. And then I also lit a candle for my grandparents who are in 3 out of 4 are, beyond this world right now. And one of my grandparents went to Duke, was very into history and religion, and my other 2 grandparents were very into Duke sports, and so I lit a candle for them. So that was a good way to start the holiday weekend before all the craziness starts, which is, Saturday full of Easter egg hunts, and then Sunday more of the, traditional time with family. Another thing I wanted to mention, this relates to going to Duke, and also a few weeks ago I had to go to a tech conference in California called the Nvidia GTC Tech Conference, which is very AI infrastructure focused. A lot of our clients were going to be there, and it's just, one of the biggest centralized places where they will talk about AI innovation and direction, of all different aspects of AI and how it's transforming different industries moving forward. So I learned a lot. I love going to industry conferences, kind of like any conferences, because I just love to hear different points of view, and I'm basically like a sponge and I learn a lot. So, as I listen to different companies present and give their perspective, it was great to think about how our companies, the companies I'm working with, fit in, but then also how transformative AI will be in the space overall. So got a lot from that. That was my first time being back in San Francisco since I left there after a major life change in which I left a relationship. I was working for Facebook. I stopped doing that. I moved to North Carolina to be closer to my family on the East Coast. So I would say, even though it had been a while since I lived in California, and I still have, very close friends in California, I was a little bit not concerned. I was a little bit, I had feelings about going back because I didn't know how I would react to it. But one of my, I would say, a business leader I follow posted something about her return trip to New York a few weeks before I went, and that it was her first time in New York after a little while, and she had been in New York and had lived there with her kids, and he lives, in an apartment on Upper West, Upper East Side, something like that, and, had a family there, and she left there and moved to Florida and had left jobs there and, left a relationship there. And so obviously when you come back, there are all these feelings, or there can be all these feelings. I think it's a natural state of things. And she said, how she thought about it was that I have a choice about which hamster wheel I get on. I can get on the hamster wheel that says I, had all these things and life is so different now, and, comparing and thinking back to that time. And then there's another one that says, like, look how far I've come, or look how my life is now. And I thought that was, I kept that in mind, not only because that aligns with, some of the things and sort of the pillars that I go by, which is, looking what you've learned and, where you are now and appreciating the present moment. But then also it helps me to hear that, because it's good to know that, I'm not alone in what I went through, and other people who are, wonderful professional women, or just, women or whatever, have been through those things and have been through tough times and they've made it through. I think it's still not completely easy to talk about, I guess, because emotion comes up when I do say that, and I honestly didn't think it would. But when I was there, it was great. It was a wonderful experience. It was great to be with my team. It was amazing to see how much the same, and how much things have changed in that area. I mean, San Francisco and the Bay Area is such a bastion of technology and innovation. And while I was there, not only at the main conference, but outside of that, there were lots of, meetings about, AI startups and innovation. And it's just like that energy there is so amazing. And at the same time, it's like there there are like office parks and office parks and office parks that sort of show you the history of, the churn of these businesses that have happened, and, the evolution of time. So while, it's very tech focused, forward thinking, there's also a very, to me at least, there's also a very historical aspect to it. So that was an interesting reflection point. I got to see a lot of office parks because I had to stay at a hotel that was like 20 minutes away from the conference, because the conference had so many people, it was so overloaded. So I had a lot of time to reflect and think about the neighborhoods that the the Uber person was driving me around. But I thought about it in terms of both going back to San Jose, being in that area that I was in, as well as, going to Duke today and going to the chapel, that places are really portals. And they're portals not only for us, but then also ways that we can reflect on, those that have come before, and, those that can come after us. So yeah, that was interesting to think about, because I guess when teaching in spirituality, or one aspect is, how do we think about time? And, time is a construct, as, many will say in the spiritual world. And when you go back to a place that you've been before, and you've been at a different age, you're sort of like, I'm this person now. I was that person then. There is an essence of me that is the same in this place, and this place is evoking the essence, or, parts of me that was there before. But like, not look how far I've come, but like, it's like those 2 points are merging. So that was interesting to think about. So that was my experience over the last 2 months, last week and last month. And now I am hoping to get back into podcasting a little bit more. My goal is to talk about both business and spirituality. I think both are very important. And, I guess bridging the two, no, another topic. I many advising me will say I need to be more be more narrow in my focus. But I want to talk about parenting, I want to talk about business, and I want to talk about spirituality. And all three things are fascinating to me, and maybe that makes my mind seem a little all over the place sometimes, but all are very important to me, and all are helping me evolve. And I don't think I would be as good or as connected with one without the other. So I think that's my plan. I still want to talk to other people. I honestly just want to talk to my best friends, first of all. So we'll see if I can get them online. But then I also am part of several communities of spiritually minded moms, business moms. And I want to talk to them too and say, just how are we evolving as women, and how are we evolving in raising our children? One other thing that did happen, catch-up session, was that I switched daycares, or my husband and I decided to switch daycares for my kids. They had been going to a community daycare in our town that had been around for 35 years, and it was great. It was where they first, when I first went back to work, and they were cared for by a lovely woman who had managed babies for 30 years. She recently had retired, and my kids were beyond the baby room. And I was seeing some ways that the classroom, I guess, curriculum and or cadence was being handled that wasn't necessarily fitting with my son. And since he's the older one in this situation, he was sort of the first, to show how he reacts as, he engages with his peers, his mind develops and things like that. So what we did, switch them to go to a Montessori-based school very close to the other school. And it's actually a bigger classroom size, but more individualized learning and more student-led learning. And both of them have done really well with that. It was a really scary choice to make, I think, because I knew something wasn't right, but then it was also going into the unknown of making a school choice change. And ultimately, it was the right decision as it exists right now. I think my kids are pretty happy at their school, and I'm thankful for the nudge to think about a change and for the courage and the support to go about that change. What that instigated is a longer term and will be continuous thought process about how we're approaching education with our kids. I think education system in the US has its, is not that great, and is very much designed for the Industrial Revolution. It doesn't necessarily cater to kids' needs. I had overall a great education experience because I turned out who I was, and I'm thankful for that, but it was by no means easy. And so I really want to think about what we're going to do for our kids. So maybe I will explore those topics too under the large umbrella of parenting. I do know some people that are in higher education, tech, and higher education in, their studies and things like that. So hopefully we can connect with them too. Thank you for the catch-up episode. I'm hoping the audio is okay without the microphone, but I'll find out in a few minutes. So seeking the magic, first of all, seeking the magic for me is to be present and have some gratitude every day, which I know I mentioned before in these episodes, and I think is very important still. I'm grateful that I am attempting this again, and I hope I have traction, and both on my side and the receiving side. And I'm grateful for having experiences to go back to, California, go back to, my school, which I lived near, and, reflect on the person I was then and the person I am now, and, the lessons that I've learned as I've become who I am now, and how I can hopefully share those lessons with other people. I'm grateful for working in a really cool tech space that's going a lot of places. So I hope to share lessons of business and marketing and things like that with everyone, and also a career development in a non-linear fashion. And then I'm of course grateful for my family, my husband and my two kids, and how they teach me lessons every day. So those are the things I am grateful for, and those are my magical moments, and I hope you can see the magic in your day today. Thank you.